Shore visited Leon's laboratory, which is essentially his apartment, uh, a little while ago, and knows what's going on more than I do. So, Shore, why don't you take over, and afterwards, Meltem will lead the discussion.
So good morning for us and noon for you, everybody. Today we're gonna hear Leon Fedetov, which I also met in the square that Bhavani and Sid joined. I think Leon represents something really astonishing for me. Is a vast of people that are able to come up with very creative ideas on their own with informal education. I went up and saw the lab. It is astonishing and reminded me two things that I've once seen. One is a really interesting lab by Professor Steve Mann, if anyone has heard of the guy. So his house is really is a fascinating place with every tool you can imagine. And I was extremely impressed with his ability to come up with ideas and solve them as a maker. I think it's a worldwide trend, but looking back at history, I found not one, but many cases where people with no formal education were able to come up with very creative ideas and solutions to interesting problems. Specifically, Leon, who is just left us for a second, was really young, to be honest, yet. He's also very interested in many areas of mechanical and electronics. And he will tell you his life story. That's by his request, and that's part of his talk. And with that, I will leave. I'm really excited to see what he's going to talk about, and I hope everybody enjoys. Thank you, Leon, for coming. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so thanks so much for the introduction. I'm really happy being here. Like I wasn't really sure what I'm supposed to talk about at first, but you and Sid kind of convinced me that it's going to be fun and might bring some value to some people that are into moving and changing this world into a little bit better place. Or I guess Neil deGrasse Tyson said like he has two goals in his life. One is to lessen suffering of others, and the other one is to learn something new every day. And you'll be surprised how far it will take you. So
maybe everybody can open the video for a second so that Leon can see the people for a second to see who he's talking to.
Hi, Leon.
Hello.
Warm welcome. We are very happy to have you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah, so I understand that like internet availability isn't that good, so you would rather have your cameras off, which is totally fine. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk today about a little bit about myself, but more about some projects that I've been involved in, and kind of like try to start a conversation on some subjects that I'm interested in. So this is like the only slide that I'll have. That's me. I've built a machine. I've built this contraption, which will, what it does in the picture is it streams two webcams into your eyes through the VR headset, and that in this way you get a third-person experience walking around the environment. So basically, it's kind of like a computer game where you look at yourself from the third person and kind of interact with people by looking at yourself from the back, from out of here. I was really surprised at how simple it was to get working. Like it just took 2 cameras and a little bit like a software that was already available, and this headset, which is the excuse me, I don't remember. It's like the first company, Oculus developer kit one. Eventually, I managed to take the laptop and put it in the backpack so it wasn't that bulky in the front, so I could interact with people. And it was really, really simple and fun. And like it created this alternative experience that makes you wonder in a deeper way about who you are and stuff like that. I'm doing a lot of photography on Instagram and also some updates on my projects. So you guys are welcome to follow. And GitHub is kind of where everyone's code is, and that's the other link. So a little bit about myself. I've been I was born in Russia and to a family, to a fun Jewish family. Then we immigrated to Israel. But I want to say one thing about Russia. They had these like Saturday TV shows that we used to watch, and they had like this a little side side section in the TV show. It used to call Ochumele Ruchki, which means handy hands. And every week, those 2 guys, those are their faces. They presented cool projects you could do DIY from household things. So there's like like assisting planting plants, like how to create a toothpaste tweezer out of a pencil and a nail. And there's a lot of awesome projects here in this book. But basically, before this book came out, they presented each project every week, like things you can do yourself at home from DIY stuff. So this thing really inspired me. Later on, when our family and I moved to Israel, I had like there was a mismatch in the ages, and like right before we moved, we did the homeschooling. So I kind of moved away from the classical rhythm of knowing things, and I always kind of knew a little bit more from the people that are my age. And when I joined school, I went to a class lower than my age. So I was always kind of disconnected from the educational system. But I really pursued, like I was really interested, and I still am, in complex systems and how things work, and can I manage to avoid bad things in reality and still survive? So, for example, if society becomes this evil thing that I would like to abandon, I would like to know that I'm able to like build my own things, like clothes, which brings me to the knitting machine, which I've been working on. And I kind of wanted to show you, and that's the thing of that's the talk of kind of the point of this lecture is when COVID started, there was a lot of restaurants that has been closed in Tel Aviv, and a couple of ladies in Tel Aviv decided that they could collect the food donations and repackage them, re-give them to people that don't have money. And really quickly it grew into something really big that involved a lot of people volunteering, giving away food packaging, and a lot of big corporations getting involved and stuff like that. And we noticed that the state doesn't really do such a good job that we did. Like they managed to find a lot of people, reach a lot of people that really need their help, and the state didn't really want to get involved in that. So this thought of solidarity came along, where instead of relying on globalization and global forces, people should unite in smaller communities and empower themselves via information they know and their skills. So what I wanted to show you that why I'm telling you about the solidarity thing is because I found those plans for a knitting machine. So one day I was on the internet, and I'm gonna I'm gonna now change the share to a browser just a moment. Okay. So one day I was browsing the internet and I found out that, and I saw this kneading machine that is available to download on Thingiverse. I hope you guys know this website. It's like this social network of people that have 3D printed designs and they share them. So circular kneading machine. So this one. So this guy, his name is Steve. He created, he reproduced an old school 100 from the 1800s stock kneading machine, and he published all the plans and all the details and detailed parts and explanation how to build it. Also videos that I hope you guys can see the video where he shows the machine and explains how it works, how it should work, etc. And I got really also I've been looking at other companies that create this. There's a couple of DIY knitting machines, and I've been waiting for one that is actually like would work really well and not get stuck, and you could actually do something with it. There's this company that was founded. They did something called OpenKnit, and they created a company, which is actually my next point. But sorry for the. So OpenKnit is this project that published how to build a knitting machine from Arduino with an Arduino and a 3D printer. That would, yeah, it's not so descriptive, but they basically rebuilt an old knitting machine and published it open source. Then the guy who did it actually went on and started a company to make knitting machines in China. Not that this is like something that I'm looking for, but it's interesting how there's ways to create big impact and big companies from this approach that I'm presenting. Basically, back to our thing, I found this knitting machine, and I realized I could print it, I could make it work. I looked at the comments, and a lot of people got really involved and got really interested in it. And there's actually a person here that I can't see his post right now, but it's not COVID. I'm sorry, I had to cough. I can't see his post right now, but what they say basically is that they have a retirement home that they are in, and they printed a bunch of those machines for the ladies there to create their for pastime activities and also get an income in this time of COVID, which really it's really something down my alley. So I realized I have to print it, and I did. So like there it is. It kind of works. There was a lot of technologies that I used. You could see it. I'm gonna start screen sharing. Can you guys see the machine? So
yeah, we can see. Yeah, we can see it.
okay, so yeah, so I can show a video as well. I'm gonna show a video in a second. But here it is. It's not broken yet. Still, it's plastic, but it's not broken yet. And it's really a marvel of Amazon.
Is this a knitting machine? Is this a
Yeah,
knitting?
it's a sock knitting. Yeah. I can show you. I'm gonna show you a video in a second. Just a second. I'm locating the video. Screen share. Okay. So this is the whole. So I've been printing. Can you guys see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, we can.
So this is like before it's working, kind of like showcasing the mechanism. The needles I ordered online, but a lot of the parts have been. Oops, sorry. Okay, so yeah, so getting yarn, getting stuff, trying to make a hoe. I went to a store and I was like, I need a hoe. Can you sell me a thing that will, a hoe itself, like this? I hear this question, people trying to buy a drill, and I'm asking them, do you need a hole or do you need a drill? Because if you need a hole, you probably won't be able to, you won't have a budget to buy a good enough drill to drill good enough hole. Not sure. So this is like the process. This is the bending mechanism. So wire bending here, all these processes that I had to do in order to make this machine is like not only 3D printing, is also like wire bending and looking for heavy things. Like heavy things in our society is really rare, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna show a short video of it working. I'll find the video that I was looking for.
Leon, when you said you were printing, you're talking about 3D printing, I assume.
Yeah, definitely. But I also printed templates, if that's interesting. For the wood. So like you do print sometimes. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is the whole thing working. I'm just gonna let it load for a second. So as you can see, my living room has been taking over for assembly because my lab is really full with stuff right now. I wanted to show you guys, but I'm not sure if I will be able to. So yeah, so this mechanism was really complex and kind of interesting to understand. So I enjoyed it very much. I started by printing a cylinder that has less needles, and then once it worked, I went on to the bigger cylinder. Each cylinder takes like 12 hours to print. I can show you. If we go back to browser, I can show you. So maybe, yeah. So this is the cylinder printing, my 3D printer. This is something that I use. It's called Octoprint. It's a Raspberry Pi that's connected directly to the 3D printer, and it manages the print for me. I can cancel the print. I can get a message when the print is done. I can watch it printing, and it highly increased my quality of life, because also I can open a webcam stream from another room, not necessarily have to be next to the printer, where when you breathe, you change the atmosphere, like, and the printer is noisy and its noise isn't irregular, so you can't really concentrate it away. Yeah, so this is kind of long, but eventually it gets there and prints the whole thing. Yeah. So I guess my point is that kind of like where you guys stand is academia, and there is other people that stand from the business side of things, and this whole it's a whole like it's a whole thing where, how can I say it? There's a space of creating companies and creating change in the world, and creating, like making kids is also creating. And different people attack it from different ways. So for example, academia will write papers, business people will create companies that will like the consumers will basically imprint the business people change on the world. But I think there is another way where at which you can collaborate with people like-minded that are interested in cool things, or like helping themselves doing something. This is like the solidarity part of things, where what we're trying to do is help our neighbors overcome COVID. So kind of like that, if I need socks, like I didn't show you, but I do have a sock already. So like this is something that I need on the machine. This is the first thing, the second thing, I guess. And this is a sock with a calf already. So you can see there's a turn. The colors are improving as well because my taste is, I'm building it up. And this is the test tube, basically. This is the 42 needles, and this is the 72 needles grip. But yeah, so what I wanted to say, so for example, if I need a sock, if I want a sock, if I miss those socks that my grandma used to knit and she's no longer with us, maybe I can build a machine and maybe people around me can help me out with it because they want socks. And so this solidarity with your community and you empower, and then remembering that what you have is from the community, so give back. So like if you have an innovation that greatly helps you doing something, you should publish it and you should have it open source and also open hardware. So if you have a hardware piece like an electronics PCB or something, you should open source it to increase this side. Like there's the business people, there's the academia people, but there's also the folks that will like things or will like results, and they don't really care for living in imprint, but they do care for changing like their surroundings, their environment for the better. So I'm gonna have my own socks soon that I would really like, and instead, so I can show you the socks. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. Yeah, I can't really find them, but are they here? Yeah. So about these socks, and my grandma needs some, and I really miss them. So I went through a bunch of different types, and I'm gonna have the one that I really like soon. And it didn't cost me that much. Yeah, and I guess I can open this thing for questions. If you guys want to, I can talk about other projects as well that I'm working on.
I would love to know a little bit more on the VR headset project that you showed us at the very beginning.
Okay, it's kind of old, but I can tell you whatever you want to hear. As I said, it's really simple. It's two webcams. They're connected to a piece of wood, which later connects to a broomstick, kind of like this, right? And the broomstick is stuck to the back, and some straps hold it to my shoulders. I can show the picture again. Just a second.
So maybe Leon, can you maybe sorry.
Yes. Sure. Go ahead.
Can you maybe share a little bit of the experience that you're experiencing while in the VR with the that back view?
Yeah, definitely. So have you ever played Fortnite? Kind of like that, or PUBG or something like that. So ideally, I don't know.
So you're
I haven't.
basically, whatever environment that you're in, you're actually replicating it on your virtual reality headset, but you are in that environment. So I'm just trying to figure out,
Wow,
is it because
this
you can
thing is really
superimpose
mind-blowing, huh? Excuse me, I didn't hear the whole thing.
Sorry. So what I was trying to understand is that with two webcams, you are capturing your environment and you're then bringing it, superimposing it back onto your VR headset, right? Is that what you're trying to do?
I already did it, and it's not really complicated. What it is literally taking two webcams and streaming each one to every eye.
Okay. I'm not trying to understand how complicated it is. I'm just trying to see what its applications could be and why you would do it. And that's why I was asking you that. And there is another reason also I'm asking that. This is a virtual reality headset, right? So is it possible?
No, it's a screen. Sorry to interrupt you. it's a screen.
It's a screen.
with
So can I put
let
a
me
mobile
just
phone
say,
and do this?
yeah, definitely, yes.
Okay, thank you. Now you've given me the answer of what I was trying to get at. So you created a virtual reality headset out of a mobile phone or a tablet, right?
No.
No. Okay, so then tell me, what did you do?
Can I
Okay,
help out?
just a second.
Or do you need a pen here?
Do you see this game? This is a game called Hitman. So I used to play it when I was little, and it's a game you play from third person. So when you play computer games, you really get this orientate. Like, it's much more easier to play this way. Even drive cars. If you see GTA, like GTA 4, when you drive a car, it puts you in this back view where you can kind of see around the car. You can never hit walls, right? It's kind of like a safer way to observe reality, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of what I did with the thing, with the headset, right? So what I did with the headset is put literally, there's no VR, there's no virtual in it. It's all real. It's just instead my eyes being here, I just moved them to the back, right? You could do it with mirrors.
Okay, so I have a question right now.
Sure.
So we are working with virtual reality, and if we wanted to scale, so one of the things is to buy virtual reality headsets is a little bit more expensive than, let's say, one of the common tablets. You can get a 3,000 rupees tablets from China, which is really very inexpensive, or you can buy an expensive cell phone. Can I use your contraption to create a virtual reality headset that is really cheap? Okay.
I think that in this case, Leon, and correct me if I'm wrong, you are altering reality rather than using any virtual world. You're just changing the point of view of your reality.
Definitely. So like your reality is composed of things, you are in point of view. So I just changed the point of view.
Okay, so it's like almost like a witness attitude. It's okay, so you're in some kind of a case as opposed to be in the environment directly.
I am in the environment directly, but I'm just observing it from the side. It really came natural because I played all these games, so it doesn't feel to me out of body experience like you would imagine, like you're the soul that is hovering over or something like that. No, it's just you yourself get an opportunity to see your surroundings from another point of view.
Okay. And because I've never played the games, I'm trying to still imagine it. It's just I've never played it.
Yeah,
what
maybe
would
you
be
should
the
try
advantage
it. It's a lot of fun.
No, so but what would be the advantage of it? It's just that you're in a safer environment. So for example, if you wanted to do something around emotions and stuff like that, this would be a way where you are there, but you're not really there. I'm just trying to figure out what its applications would be.
It's easier to see around, like if you're looking for something in a room, you could find it better. Like if you're, I'm not really sure what you're actually excited about, but like, I mean, what's the point of it? But the idea, you could impose like AR on top of it, and like, but it's like, it's an art thing. Like it makes you feel a certain way. You should experience it and just to see, wow, like this is like when you rotate, it will rotate with you, right? So kind of, it's maybe something that only people that play the game can understand. It's just, it feels really natural. It's not like it's something special. It's just an opportunity to have an experience that you could only have in virtual world in reality. I guess that's the point.
Mm.
But you could probably make it even more, I guess, advanced and control the cameras and maybe get a point of view from whoever you're talking to or things like that, right?
I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure what you mean. Like, why You could superimpose things on top, but it doesn't mean that you have to have this third person angle.
So, okay, so the reason why we're asking that is that we are trying to use virtual reality for training people in different skills in virtual worlds, so that we can reduce overhead costs and things like that. So, or in terms of how to interact with people and how to deal with people. And so I was just wondering if this kind of a contraption, but we have to do, if we have to scale it, it has to be in a really low cost way, and using tablets or cell phones instead of actually buying virtual reality headsets would become something important. And so that's why I think I was asking that question. So how can we use your ideas
to
achieve our
get
ends?
budget? Yeah, okay. I'm not really interested in that. Like, what I'm interested in is like exploring creativity and creating new experiences for me and my community. I understand where you're coming from. It's totally fine. It's just like not something, I just showed it because it's my picture. I did it like 5 years ago. But after that, like if you can see the video, this is footage from a drone that I built, and it streams directly to your eyes. So you could see like a bird's eye view live and control it live. So you're kind of impersonating a bird, right?
But how the cameras are on your shoulder, how are you impersonating this bird?
They're on a drone.
The cameras are now on a drone, and it still streams to my headset.
Okay, got it.
And now you're a bird, okay? So this is just another thing that I did in the same field, trying to like specify, maybe be more accurate about what I'm looking into, what I'm interested in. Basically, you could, if you're looking for, by the way, like totally regardless, like not talking about the project that you just saw, you could create VR headsets from cheap old phones and cardboard boxes. They have all the sensors that you need. If that was your question. Like if this is something that's interesting, like you could take a bunch of Samsung phones, and there's a bunch of projects of folding cardboard, you know.
Right. Okay. I'll leave it open for others to ask questions now.
Sure.
So, Leon, if I understand correctly, you're basically adding more eyes to the human being, and our anatomy and our neuroanatomy is such that we see things which are in front of us, and the eyes are a certain distance from each other. If we were birds, then our eyes would be where our ears are. And so then if I were lecturing in a class, I'd be in a position where one eye is looking at the students and the other eye is looking at the blackboard, if I were to use a blackboard. And what you're doing is you're adding a pair of eyes. I don't know if it's a pair, but they're now behind you. And so you're not just seeing what's in front of you, and your brain is recording that information, which is what we all have, but you're adding eyes. And then the experiences that you have are close to 360 degrees, because now you have it both in front, which is the natural way, and behind. So I understand that that's what you're playing with, what you're trying to create, and then what that does to the brain and how the brain can process that information after the brain has a gazillion seconds of getting only frontal information through the eye. So there's also that thing. where the brain has to adapt. On the other hand, you said you play games that have as if their eyes in the back, and so your brain is already used to it. It's been trained, let's say, for that. So am I understanding it correctly, or am I completely off?
Pretty close to the thing. I would just say that it doesn't create. Okay, so first you're completely right that for birds is a whole different experience. Also, I've read something where they have their visual cords affected by their orientation, like a compass. But other than that, the drones they are mono. So like they have one camera that shows you in front of you, and rarely it moves. So it's really a limiting experience. But and you find yourself moving your head around with the headset without any feedback, but you still do it. And then you get stuck like in an angle like this. The drone is somewhere flying, but you're like this because you think your head is kind of affecting the angle. What I was interested in doing that is yeah, having a chance to see the world from other points of view, and also it really is an adrenaline rush. Like I said in the comments, you can't really fly it a lot. You need to have brakes. You need to have a breather, otherwise you'll crash it, because it really pumps your heart for the first couple of 100 flights. And yeah, and seeing and about the so it doesn't add. The only thing that I would change for you from what you said is that it doesn't add new perspective. It just changes yours. Yeah. So if someone is,
That's right. Thank you. Thank you.
those are cheap. If someone was interested, those are the cheap VR headsets. Couple companies did that. Probably you guys know about it already. So you take a phone, you stick it in, and you can beat this guy. Yeah.
I think here is the alteration that Leon did is just using the VR headsets, not as VR headsets, it's just screens that can show whatever you want in front of your eyes, rather than using the virtual world that is displayed inside. You can display anything you want.
Right. I think I understand.
Now, Leon, why don't you, maybe you can talk a little bit about the plants that I saw that was very fascinating.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is just a second. You've probably seen like a happy guy holding a jar, like smiling online, talking about how he didn't open it for 20 years and it's still alive. Whoa, what a surprise. Turns out it's possible. I did a bunch of them. I don't open them, and they have their own life cycle. So they will like this. Now this plant is overgrowing everyone else, but there's like 20 different plants here and animals and everything. And if you can see in the backdrop, I have like a bunch of them over there. So like there's 2 there, and then there's 3 more over here. Those things are, I guess I saw them in the lab in Weizmann. My friend was doing research on bacteria, and he had a thing called Bioreactor, which is a really awesome word, where it could it's a vessel that can be heated and stirred and taken, and you can take stuff out of it, put stuff in, and gas and liquid, and also there's a sensor that measures what color and how transparent the solution is. This thing is basically you can program, with this thing you can program bacterial growth. So like if there's a bacteria that needs a certain environment to grow, you could do it with this thing. So I decided I could do it with plants, where I build a bunch of these things and kind of research, kind of find the optimal plant health or optimal, how to say, conditions, or enable a plant to grow in a custom environment, let's say. I'm playing around with that. Yeah, and there's some things that I would like to go into with that. Like I was, people are selling those for not so much, but I'm kind of worried because you do need to take care of them. You need to cut them down and you need to wash the glass. I'm looking into specific materials that can make it pretty. And,
Yeah.
Leon, we have a couple of groups over here. We have some people who are working on building drones, some people who are working on virtual reality worlds and things like that. Do you have like some tips on where they can, like you showed us a whole bunch of resources where you can actually find a lot of things that are open source and that they can do. So in terms of drones and things like that, would you also have recommendations on open resources that people could look at? There are people who are both building drones and also using drones, both.
awesome. So yes, definitely. So I haven't been a couple of years into drones, but YouTube is a really good resource. There's a website called, it depends, like there's the DJI drones, the classic drones that automatically fly and take videos. This is less than where I'm at. I'm into custom drones, and those are called FPV drones. And I used to watch a lot of YouTube about it, so I can share maybe some links. There's FPV. You guys probably know it. Flight Club. This is store that shows. They're all shipping worldwide, I guess. So you could buy their kits. It's maybe kind of cost prohibitive, but they have really good explanations. So you could buy kits on the cheap side. Banggood is a Chinese website. You could buy a bunch of things there as a resource.
Maybe augmenting
get FPV.
Augmenting Dr. Question. Can you talk a little bit about the process of where you come up with an idea and how you kind of walk until you make it happen?
Sure. I get excited. Like so like what I wanted to explore with my okay, so like growing up, you always see commercials, like from my like my immigrant point of view, like commercials to expensive things that you can't really afford, and I kind of try to channel that like that desire to have things into, oh well, you don't have enough money, but if you have this machine and this machine, you could build this thing for yourself, and it will be much better because you're the one that is like improving it, and there's no cost cuts. Sorry, involved in like shipping and stuff like that. You could build the best thing, and this kind of approach always brings me in. So like this is I'm showing you right now. It's like a DIY drone, right? They sell it for half 1,000 shekels. But you could build, you could buy the frame itself, right? You could buy frame drone, FPV, and you get just the frame, right? So kind of like buying your own PC computer and assembling it for parts. It's kind of the same thing, just with anything else. So the kneading machine anything else basically. This so what we've been the VR thing. What I did was at Geekon. Geekon is this conference we're having every year. This year we didn't have it, but so this congress is what we do is the industry people from high tech, they come together and they see and they do things that are basically useless. That's the definition. You just have fun on the weekend, drink coffee, drink beer, and build projects that are kind of similar to what you do every day, but are by definition useless. This is has a lot to do with encouraging me to think about cool ideas, what we could do. Yeah, and people do crazy things. And I think that project with the glasses I did last year, a couple of years ago. Here's someone building a bike. We're bringing printers every year. This is a motorized surfer board. And then Saturday, everybody's showcasing their families, what they did, saying hi, and yeah. So this is kind of like what the spirit that inspired me. There's a lot of people in Israel that either went into the army and got trained for really specific things, and now after the army they feel like they don't really have something interesting to do with it, and they don't have an expression. They are managing some big company right now, and they don't have their own like expression. So it's a really cool environment to create things.
All right, Leon, you're okay with that? We could open up now the official question and answer part of your presentation so that the colleagues can address directly their interest towards you. I already can say we have a lot of overlap, so your interest is also very dear to our heart here. We are interested in serving the community with creative solutions, and as Dr. Lavani said, we are working on similar technologies. And for that reason, and as Dr. Lavani already announced, dear colleagues, please do address your questions. For practicality reasons, I would recommend please raise your hands first so that we can, or that I can coordinate the question answer session for Leon so that it's not overwhelming. I'm sure we have a lot of burning questions. So dear colleagues, this is the call to participate now actively so that we can come into a second level of conversation. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Leon, thanks for sharing the really interesting project that some of the project that you've been doing. I'm wondering about the process, meaning that in many cases you need to acquire your own knowledge in areas that are you haven't been trained on, and I was wondering how do you go about that? Do you make that a challenge and then spend your whole time on that, or is it like more of a longer process where you think what you need to know and you kind of write down, okay, I need to understand how this circuit works and how that works, or is it more like a maker kind of trial and error? And what's your experience with getting your knowledge on your own?
Yeah, really good question. Thanks. So I would say mostly my knowledge comes from YouTube. There is a bunch of channels of different people in different industries, or how how do you call it? Never mind. There's a lot of specialities in YouTube. People that just let you follow along on the project, and I really feel like I learned a lot. Like along the years, people are publishing many years videos about their life. I can talk for hours about any one of them. There is one guy that actually built the VR headset for HTC, and he has a channel. It's called Applied Science, and he's always having a really cool project to show and talk about. Recently, he's been measuring human digestive efficiency, but before that, he's been etching silicon wafers, all DIY at home at his lab. Basically, he also has a kind of a lab like I do. He has a better lab, but you know, spherical air bearings, but also a spectrography project or electroscopic microscope. I never said it out loud. Like the microscope that can show you out. So never. I rarely read a paper. If that was the question, I always look at something, a video, and some person is explaining to me what he did, and then he's also explaining the whole thing, the process, if it's a good channel. So this thing is like an intro to DLP, DLP projection, and he basically built the model, and I also attempted to build this model. What I came in the result as a result was something kind of similar, but not the same. Where I built a series of what I built was this is 16 motors, linear actuators that all control a surface. So this thing is basically an abstract surface that I can program with the motors to take any shape or a random shape. And
like haptic controlled by motors.
Yeah. So it has 16 motors here, linear actuated motors, and the Raspberry Pi, and yeah. So usually sometimes I watch a thing like that on YouTube and get inspired. So this is you've probably seen it. It's 3D printed flexible materials that NASA published open source. And yeah, I just printed it. And this thing, I looked at it and it inspired me to take this DLP thing together with, excuse me, together with this fabric. Also, I'm kind of into math, so for example, I 3D printed some penroll styling, and I imagined that I could showcase them in a pretty way on this surface eventually. I don't know if you guys see better. I can show you more channels. So for chemistry, there's a guy, his name is Nerd Rage. He would explain a lot of chemical reactions, and if you're looking for a chemical that is hard to find in your country, you could look up like clandestine chemistry people that will explain to you how to make it from other things that are readily available, like drain cleaner and stuff like that. So he actually developed a way of creating calcium metal, I think, how to say not reverse osmosis, sodium metal. So sodium metal is really hard to get by, I think. And he managed to create a process that will allow you to do it at home in small scale and could be really efficient. And that's something that he did through working on the YouTube channel. Mechanical engineering, machining, it's usually American, so it's kind of annoying because they're all talking in inches instead of metrics, but this guy is just a blessing. He works on big stuff and he always likes to explain everything. And so that's how I learned machining. Just one more channel before I answer the questions, get to the questions. So I wanted to show Jamie Manzel. This guy, he built toys and then he moved to another island, to Panama. He bought an island and he's building a house and a boat and a tractor all by himself. And this guy has really inspired me. He has kids there and a wife, and everything is off the grid. Really, really awesome. Yeah, so yeah. How do I let people say?
Great. So we would have other raised hands from one of our PhD students, Rasika. Rasika, just kindly share your thoughts as us and Leon.
Yeah. Hi, Leon. I wanted to ask that how do you think that the universities use the virtual reality in education, and how would you relate the virtual reality to education? And have you sold any of your products to any universities or educational institutions?
So I'm not sure I got the question. I'm gonna repeat it. So you're asking how would I relate education to virtual reality? And the second question is, have I sold any of the kits?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so yeah, so maybe yeah, so
I was just asking the applications of it, like for educational interventions, or if you have any knowledge of it, and how do universities use it for their benefit?
applications of virtual reality. So obviously you guys are mentioning, like I was talking from fluency, that people that are in remote places aren't able to see physically things that are big and stuff like that. They can come together and educate. But also YouTube is in 2D. You get a lot of things well enough. I would say haptic engine. So like there is gloves that like create a virtual environment for your hands is more important to learn skills, but it's not accurate enough yet to actually learn those skills. You really need to like look really well and imagine yourself doing that. And maybe coming back to Tzur's question, where you asked,
Have you sold any of
well, my process is going to sleep with an idea. Like you think about something and you go to sleep with it, and that's how you also learn, I think.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you very much, Leon, for this reply. And
Sure.
also,
I didn't
Rasika.
sell anything. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
that's the other part. I'm not selling that. I'm just playing around.
Devashish, you raised your hand. Thank you for that. So please share your thoughts.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Nandita. Can I go ahead?
You can. Yes, please.
Okay. Once Leon is smiling, then I may ask my question, please. Okay, great. Nice. So Leon, tell me more about, I see a guitar behind you, and I'm also working a bit on sound mixing, recording, and these things. So if you have something on your mind or something that's going on, please do share with me. That's my first question. Second is, I see a lot of designs that you're doing. Please tell me if you're using some software, because I see advertisements every now and then, people that use 3D softwares and other things to do small little designs. So if I'm doing something for my home, like, building a cupboard, or probably doing something inside my car, small little things, not too technical, like you are doing many things together. So is there a software that is friendly, useful, and cheap, so that I can, plan these things better rather than putting it all on paper? Thank you.
Sure. So just to repeat your question, so you're interested in audio and stuff, and you would like to see if I have something. And the second question is if I have a recommendation for a 3D software model.
Wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So there is a software called VCVRAC. It's open source. I really, really liked it. It's a modular synthesizer machine. It will I wonder how I can stream it to you guys. Cool. Let's see. Can you guys hear it? Maybe this. So yeah, this machine is basically this software is all open source, and those are all different modules. You can disconnect and connect everything, and you can basically build your own musical instrument. And it's all a simulation of real world things. So you could see here devices that you recognize, like the Moog ladder filter, which is the famous ladder. People are remaking them, and also a lot of into modular synthesizers, and there is a lot of audio instruments remix. An opportunity to play with it without having to pay a lot. Really huge community. There's always updates here, and they're really fun, and it's also on GitHub. So yeah, and I use Fusion 360. It's free for non-commercial use. So that's what I would recommend, but also I can recommend OpenSCAD, which is an open source. If you know a little bit programming, you can use it. It's pretty straightforward. You just share my screen. So you basically just write. I unfortunately don't have it installed on this computer to showcase it, but you write really simple code that will show you, that will create anything you'd like, basically in 3D generative parameterized design. So you could excuse me, like design this, you can see this fan, you could have 4 flaps. So basically, I'm guessing somewhere in this code, there is a number 4, which you change, and it's immediately gonna change it to 4 flaps. I really like this project because it's like, literally works, which is fun. Sometimes they don't. Yeah, hope this answered your question.
Yes, Leon. Leon, I had to ask one more thing. Leon, are you working also on acoustics, noise cancellation, developing a room which is noise free, and things like that? If you have some expert inputs on it, please do share. I'm also working on something that would be useful. Thank you.
Cool. So no, I haven't been really into it. I am looking for noise solutions. So I tend to say that I own a bunch of noise canceling headphones that are working in different amounts of success. Best ones are Bose, I think, but also the AirPod Pros, the new ones, are also good. They're pretty cost prohibitive. I've known about the theory of noise cancellation for a while, and I'm considering doing it. Something interesting maybe to note about noise cancellation is that, for example, Makita drills are specifically designed, 3D engineered, designed to have acoustic values, to have specific acoustic values. So they're basically really designing it to be more silent, to channel noise. So this is like high level of quality device, of quality manufacturing. And this is something that I would like to think about if I create a machine or a device that I sell or let people use about its sound, kind of like you design the noise of a closing of a door in a car.
Okay. Thank you, Leon. Thank you so much. I was looking more about, how, for example, if you can train the noise in a room through foam, cloth, or things that we have ready access to, or maybe design of objects around, or you figured out some some cheat or a trick which is the starting point of doing these things, because when it's a bad acoustic room, it's difficult to start from where should we start from?
Yeah, so you could try to just play the same sound right back at it. This just will cancel the wave, so you don't need to worry about isolation. Rather than you just add waves that cancel each other.
Yes, right.
That's where I'm going with, but I think it's kind of like not healthy, because I get ear pain. But I'm really not. I haven't been looking into it at all, to be honest.
Okay, okay, okay. Thanks a lot, Leon.
Thank you. All right, then we have Deepu. Deepu, share your thoughts.
Yeah. Deepu, go ahead.
By the way, Deepu is working with a team.
If Deepa is not on, I'll just.
Deepu, I can't hear you, Deepu. He has his microphone on, but we're not able to hear him. So it's like he's trying to say something, but we can't hear it.
So why don't we have him to write it?
Deepu, put your question on the chat. It's okay. Why don't you write a question on the chat?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Leon, Deepu has been working on, currently he's done many things, but he's also been building a lot of the simulators that we have in our, that we've kind of released from the lab. Of late, he was working on a low-cost respirator for people who are fighting the COVID. So they are people who are in the front line of COVID. They use respirators, and so he's been he and his team have been working on building a low-cost respirator, I think, and so they do a lot of they use the makerspace that we have quite a bit, and then they improvise on designs that are already on open source. So that's his background.
Cool. So I see he's asking, or she, sorry if I didn't made the wrong assumption. What was the most challenging thing? I guess I can show you another project that was really challenging for me, and it's kind of interesting. Okay, so is it that one? Okay, so let's see servos. Oh no, it's a little bit different, but yeah. So this is the other project that that you saw in the video, but now I tried to recreate it with a under projector, which had mirrors coming into. This is like the this is like the prototype, but then later we built it with mirrors that move back and forth. Let's see if I can play a video. So the problem with that is that it started melting, and it did create a really nice slideshow, but I couldn't really write anything or something like that. And because the light was really hot, it started melting and destroyed the whole thing. But I just let it run. Yeah, let's see if there's any more information. This is kind of like what it did. Yeah, maybe I can another project. Just a second. Yeah, so I'm doing like microscopy photography for with my jars. This is really pretty because there's no atmosphere around it, like really wind and stuff. So it's really gentle and it's not being touched by anything. So like you open the jar and you take a photo, it's like this bubble baby. This is no folio elevator. Yes, I can't find it. Not sure where it is. Find it. So there's this glow-in-the-dark material that I applied with a glue on top of a transparent surface, and if you light a UV light through it, then it kind of remembers it. So I took this effect a little bit further. I really can't find the. On the dark. Okay, so this was really challenging. I'm not done yet, but I have a working prototype basically. So I really like this effect. I already saw a bunch of projects doing that, but I really like this effect. So basically, there's three types of pigments that glow in the dark: zinc sulfide, sodium aluminate, stuff like that. They have this decaying property where they're exposed to photons, UV light, and then they do a phase shift and they create green light instead of the transparent UV light or whatever, the purple. And they glow for a bunch longer because I guess green energy has less energy than UV. So like, anyway, I built a moving platform behind it with LEDs. And this is me working on it back in, I don't know what year, 2 years ago. Yeah, so, and it draws pictures. Let's see if I can show you. And this is like one of the first versions where it's really kind of transparent and doesn't do, so these green lines, they stay for a while and they decay relatively slowly. Then I figured out I need better LED lights. Like I just used regular LED lights. Then I ordered UV LED lights, and I solddered by hand because I didn't have time to. Like I didn't know how to design PCBs with the software. So until I learned it, I had like a deadline or whatever. So I soldered it myself and figured out how to run it like a script. I was really happy about it. OMG, it's a video. I want to see what I'm doing. Okay, yeah, funny. Eventually what it became like I looked into a lot of processes of how covering plastic sheets with this material, the spray sucks. The companies that actually sell glow in the dark paint, they really dilute it. It doesn't really glow. What you do is you buy the pigment and you mix it with paint, and then you figure out how to keep the paint stuck to the surface because it's not so trivial. Eventually, where I got to is kind of like this. This is like at the place where I showed it. Let's see. So can't see the. Maybe I can show better. I wish it was less jumpy. So you can see with the knob you control the speed and it changes the picture that it draws. And currently what I'm doing is with this project, I showed it once, but currently what I'm doing is converting it to circular thing. So I started working on a circular thing, and you can imagine since there's a thing that's spinning, you need to put all the data through the center and have like a mechanism that will keep your wires untangled. So I kind of built it with servo motors and it was really noisy. So I changed my approach. So I've designed a PCB right now this time, and I've been working. Some good friends helped me, and this is the front panel. This is all 2 years ago, right? So I'm just showing because it was really challenging. I'm not even done yet, but yeah. So going forward with it, Yeah, I don't think I have the latest version, but I'm getting close to actually being able to do it. Like back in the day, I wasn't able to do it because I didn't have a laser cutter. And now I do have a laser cutter, which I
Is
just
it
bought
okay for
this
them to
summer.
reach out to you for help
Sorry?
if possible?
Yeah.
Said something? Excuse me, I couldn't hear it.
No, I was asking if it's possible for Leon, in case the team here, as they're building stuff, if they run into snags or if they run into difficulties, may they reach out to Leon for help in troubleshooting or ideas, brainstorming on ideas. If you have the time for it, I think that would be a wonderful thing.
I guess you can reach out for sure. Follow me on Instagram. I'll answer if I have the time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Leon. So we have almost 1.5 hours, so we don't want to stretch also too much Leon's time. I would propose 10 more minutes, if that is okay for Leon and for Tsur. So having said that, I would last call for questions and for comments towards Leon, and to continue then the further comments offline with him if he has time. So last call for comments. Yeah.
I have a question, if it's okay. So Leon, picking up on just one of the things that you mentioned was the acoustics and noise cancellation, but it doesn't matter. It's just an example. So as far as I understand, you don't go to the textbooks and figure out the waveforms and equations and try to understand the theory behind and then go away. You work your way out in a different way, like a top-down thing. You come up with an idea, and then how do you obtain the knowledge? Because it's, for many people, including myself, some of the things that you show are like science fiction to build at home. So I was wondering, where is the knowledge come from? How do you what is the process? Do you start with an idea and then you explore, and you never have to go down to the theory? How do you do electronics without theory, with understanding the underlying theoretical things that govern whatever you're trying to build?
Yeah, so for me, theory and written papers are representation of information that I can't really digest. It doesn't mean that I don't get it. It just means that I need to imagine it in my way. Like in my head, I have an understanding of things, and then I can read the paper and understand what they're talking about. But before, if I don't know and people start introducing words and notation, I have a hard time accepting it and understanding it that way, I guess. I will need to build a thing to work with it, like the machine, the knitting machine. I didn't understand how the needles work until I built this machine. That's why I built it, to see how the needles really work. Because all the words, they can try to approximate reality, but the reality is real and the words aren't. And I have a representation of reality, not of the words, I guess.
So you build first and understand later? Is that the way you do it?
I understand through the results. Like I don't necessarily need to understand everything. I like going, I like repeating recipes. Like I like going on instructions. And I like dealing with a lot of things together, and then things interchange and help each other.
Right. I understand. Thanks.
Sure.
Great, very creative. So any other comments also from Dr. Sid before we close up? So Akila, your microphone is not muted. Is that a sign that you would like to say something, Akila?
Yes, first of all, Leon, what can I tell you? Really interesting. Something struck me about this sort of taking many steps back. So I think I can't remember which company, but there's a company with shoes, and they say, maybe it's Nike or Nike, I never know how to pronounce it. Just do it. That's their one thing that they have. Just do it. And then, because I was thinking about the do part, so just do it. And then there's, in what you're talking about, DIY, do it yourself. But it's not, it's yourself in some ways, but you're not taking objects only from nature, you're taking artifacts, things that people have created. And so you have a community of people that you're getting these whatever objects that you want, and you are and you're taking from the community. But it's not just yourself. And you had said something in the very beginning about a sense of community and giving back. I was wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about that, how you view the community and your obligations to others through what it is that you're doing in your lab, in your apartment.
Sure. So yeah, so I really feel like everything I know came from the community, from people that felt the need to explain. And when I was when I was like in 6th grade, I read this quote from someone, I don't even know who. He said, "If you're explaining something to someone, you're understanding much better. Like if you're able to explain something, it means something about your understanding, and it will require you to really understand something really deeply." So for me, the community gave me a lot, and my approach to it, to giving back to the community, is literally working with my hands. So if I see a friend or someone that I know that has a broken hardware, something that I can fix, I'll always try to offer my help for audio equipment or like computer equipment. I always offer advice and help. I don't like to do the regular like maintenance on computers because I feel like it's just it's something that people need to learn for their own, like learn the lesson of not dirtying up your computer. But like if you have something mechanical that's broken and it's really interesting me, and it's in a medium that I can work with, then I would like to fix it for you. Or if you have something broken, I would like to attempt to unbreak it, but I might break it even further. Also volunteering and just trying to be a nice neighbor, you know. We have a carousel we have a playground, and sometimes it's all the mechanical things squeak after the rain. So I make sure I go and I put oil on them because I'm a part of my community, and our community doesn't have squeaky playgrounds. That's it. I don't like participate in a market of giving and taking goods in that way.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Sid and also Leon. So I would like to close up the session, unless Leon would like to also address something or would have a question to us. Leon, please feel free and welcome to give also a comment or have a question. We can maybe continue also offline then, but just to start maybe the process.
Leon, before you say something, I want to tell a story which you've heard me tell about you probably 100 times now. And you're laughing because you know what I'm going to say. I met Leon in the square next to my apartment and his apartment. I don't know how we met, actually, but in that neighborhood, people sit down and have coffee outside in the square. And they start talking to each other even if they don't know each other, really. And so maybe that's the way that you and I met. And he was telling me about all that he's doing. And it was very impressive. And then there was a little party in the square celebrating my 50th anniversary of having immigrated to Israel. And there were a couple tech people there, and they were talking to him. And they came up to me and they said, boy, he is really creative and knowledgeable. And I asked him at one point, so where did you study? What university did you go to where you learned all of this? And he said, well, I never went to the university. I learned everything from YouTube. So it's like YouTube University. And
never went.
What I
He
don't
got his
know
knowledge
is
from
that-
you.
And what he said was, what I don't know, I ask people, I read about it, and I was amazed at that as an idea. And I think that in some ways is emblematic of Leon and the kind of work that he does. So I want to thank you again for an absolutely sparkling and super interesting talk. And Sure, why don't you basically wrap things up? Thank you again, Leon.
Yeah, sure, no problem. It was fun. So yeah,
Sorry,
so
Sid, I
thanks
missed.
everyone for listening. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you, Leon. Thank you really very much. Also, on behalf of AMMACHI Labs, I have seen in the comments a lot of colleagues really enjoyed your talk and your creativity. So we feel really very much identified also with your work. We understand, and especially AMRITA stands for Service and Research in Service for Humanity. So we see ourselves as servants, we researchers, for the communities, especially the communities hard to achieve and hard to work with. So again, a lot of thanks. Your work has a lot to do with empowerment. Do it by yourself is being self-reliant, and this is one of our strong pillars also here. So it would be also really wonderful to continue our communications together. And I want to thank also all colleagues who are active, and hopefully we will see each other soon. And thank you also, Zur, for inviting Leon. Yeah.
So Leon, thanks so much for a wonderful talk, and appreciate you coming. I know you're busy, and we'll let you go now.
All the best.
All the best.
Thank you.